Hello everyone, welcome to the 5th and final mission quest in DFFOO Global. And really it seems that the later the mission quest stage, the easier it gets, because this final stage here is essentially a rerun of the very first Shinryu stage we got, which was Keiss Shinryu. And the bosses HP are only 60 million each, so even though you're kind of restricted to 2 dagger users and 1 sword user, virtually any echo user, especially if you bring in a friend unit with echoes, will be able to easily handle this stage. So much so that there really isn't a lot of strats involved, just bring a force gauge charger such as Ram or Penelo, charge to 100% force gauge, enter force time and win. Anyway, to just make things a little bit more interesting for myself, I sort of brought Noctis as the sword user and go for a 0 turn run, which is still fairly easy to do with Ram. So really here at the start, all I have is Ram spamming Cure and then using the Lunafreya LD call to use 2 LDs so that she get 2 more Cure users. The whole goal really is to just quickly reach 100% force gauge. Since Ram is on the left, the Lunafreya LD call gives quick prayer to both Keiss and Noctis. Keiss is there as the unit that I'm going to swap out, and he's pretty useful at the very start of this stage at least, because he starts with the Brave League debuff on the bosses, and then he can also quickly buff Noctis and Ram with hero support before swapping out. Also, since this stage doesn't really have a lot of HP, this is maybe the one stage where you can make do without any of the characters' BT weapon. Just bring them with their force and their force echoes and you will still steamroll over the stage. I did give Keiss a range LD call, and that's really only to finish charging in the summon meter. Don't really need to. In fact, only 1 launch is needed. So you can use something like a Dark Knight Cecile call over range. That way the Dark Knight Cecile call at least also lands a debuff. But really essentially any launch call will work. Starting on Noctis' turn, you have some options here. You could just start off with LD, and that way you don't have to pop summon. But since the bosses doesn't have a lot of HP, what I decided to do is just use the LD call, do BT plus with the quick prayer, and then just go into summon mode immediately. So at this point I'm pretty close to 100% force gauge. Summon mode is there to just help me finish off charging the force gauge, as well as apply warp step to everyone with Noctis without increasing the turn count. Now that hero support is up on both Noctis and Rem, I swap out Keiss for the Aerith, and since I'm inside summon, I took the opportunity to also use one LD to apply Seal Evil. Force Gauge is fully charged, so I swap turns to Noctis and then go into FR. So from here on, it's pretty straightforward, just echoes all the way. You can use BT Plus with Rem and Aerith after summon mode like I did, but as I mentioned earlier, the bosses will already melt away in force time, so if you don't have any of their BTs, I think even including Noctises, just spamming echoes should be enough to close off the fight. As I'm sort of finishing off the bosses, just some thoughts and comments about mission quests in general. Overall, I do like the concept where they sort of restrict you in weapon types, which really sort of forces you to think outside the box and use units that you haven't used in a long time, which I think is a very good thing for gacha games. I also like that the weapon type requirements are different for every stage, so this way you don't have to worry about saving units for future stages, because you know that for future stages you need to bring other weapon types anyway. The thing that I don't really like about mission quests is that the boss's HP doesn't really get changed versus their original stage, at least as far as I can see. The really only sort of tricky one was the very first one, which was Core's Lost Chapters, since that was a pretty recent stage. But as the stages go on, the bosses get less and less HP because they sort of rewind further back in time. Would have really appreciated if they at least made some tweaks, especially to the boss's HP, so that the fights are a little bit more challenging. Because essentially, if you can bring a friend unit, that already gives you a ton of flexibility, so even newer players would have some sort of choice that they can bring to the fight. I guess maybe bringing the HP to current Shinryu levels may be a tad challenging if you combine that with the weapon type restrictions, but at the very least, you know, they need to sort of bump up the HP a little bit, because 60 million HP is really just 2 echoes and that's it, essentially. Maybe something like 70-80% of the current Shinryu HP pools, I think would be the sweet spot. That way the bosses don't just roll over and die when you sneeze on them. Overall though, I think it's at least something nice for us to do in between stages, considering now that, you know, most of the events are sort of once per week. Having at least extra stages like this in between helps to keep the game sort of up and running for players who have nothing else to do in between. Now, I'm not too sure about the friend unit here. We did have lockout stages like Dare to Defy where they disabled the ability to bring a friend unit, and without a friend unit it would make the mission quest more challenging, obviously. Don't know though whether that will be too challenging. Anyway, I hope the devs bring back more events like this and Dare to Defy or Crevasse, because really I think those are very interesting stages for content creators to look at during downtime. Anyway, that's it for this run, and for the mission quest, as always, if the video has been helpful, do leave a like, comment or subscribe, it really helps a lot. And sorry for this time, but I forgot to take a screenshot on a party setup, but I guess it's a fairly simple stage anyway. See ya guys!